You know everybody wants to be a cat because they're perfect. Anyways, being a cat is where it's at, and this is the last game of this week, Stray, and I got really hyped up. I remember, it's like a game where you can actually finally feel like you're a cat. And I thought, oh, cool, I can do cat things like absolutely nothing and wander around and achieve nothing. And it'll be about nothing. So like Seinfeld cats. So anyways, that sort of is like that, sort of not the final product. So you're a cute kitty who gets separated from your fellow kitties, and you have to make your way back to the surface to rejoin them. So I love the setup. I thought it was a really good setup to start the game. And then from there, there's also moments that make you cry. So sort of seeing the cats, if you're a cat lover or animal lover, seeing the cats sort of suffer and have tragedy of being separated. It's pretty heart-wrenching for a game, and I have to admit, like this actually teared me up a bit. So it makes you want to hug your felines, is what I wrote, and makes you appreciate the animals in your life. So anyways, the game is very dynamic and moody. I wouldn't say the graphics are very well done, but it's done in like such a subtle way that it's sort of, I wouldn't say it's hard to appreciate the game, but the graphics are very, I wouldn't even say realistic, because it's set in a possible future where, without spoiling anything, it sort of explains what happened to what is presumed to be Earth. So I feel like the graphics are very subtle, so it's hard to appreciate them because they're so in the background, and the focus is on the cats and what the cat does, the Stray does. But yeah, the physics as well is very impressive. Just seeing the way things roll, move, when you're traveling via the cat carrier, I guess you can call it, on the line, the clothesline. That's all impressive, and I think they motion captured all of this, so they did a really good job with that. I feel like this is really the first 3D game where you explore and climb as a kitty, and the game has really captured that fluidness of the cat's movement, and just overall how a cat would behave in such an environment. Now, while they've managed to capture the feeling of the stray cat, I feel like the story itself is like a little bit dull, and like it's underwhelming. Like they sort of tried to back off, and I feel like they backed off, and like it was less of like an interactive movie. And I don't even necessarily want it to be a movie, because this game is now apparently going to be turned into a movie, so we'll see how that goes. Maybe it would be better as a movie, but it just feels like a little bit underwhelming. The emphasis is on exploration with lots of platforming, so which is fine until it starts to feel like that's all you're doing. Like, let's jump from this corner to this corner, press A, and it starts to feel like, okay, instead of like an immersive game where your cat automatically chooses to jump, or maybe that could be an option in the future now that I think about it. But like, it's just a shame that immersiveness for me, like every single time the game tells you, oh, okay, press A, jump here, and like it's less of a roaming game. When it becomes a roaming game for me, I feel like that's when this game really feels especially great. But when it starts to become like you have to jump this and solve this puzzle, like I feel like that slows the game down in a sense. Because like real cat would rather just roam, like maybe play with the boxes, knock some stuff down, which you can do at the beginning more. From what I've seen, I'm about almost halfway through the game, and I feel like it's now become more of a like a fetch quest, which is not how the start of the game sort of began. It became more of the cats roaming, cats lost. Now it's starting to become more of like a human sort of adventure rather than a cat adventure. So yeah, as I said, the experience starts to start off well and good, but then it starts to feel kind of superficial, and I couldn't figure out how to word it, and then I realized superficial, like very lighthearted, very hands-off, less interactions, like meaningful interactions, I guess. You can eventually talk to some of the residents, let's just say without spoiling, but it just feels like such a light bit of story, and I was hoping for something a bit more depth. Yeah, so it just felt like more, it felt boring to keep looking for objects or places instead of roaming freely like a cat would do. And that's where I think the beginning of the game was great, because it just let you roam, like you just jump a little bit and then you would just be a part of the environment. And as soon as you start having to press A, sorry, to jump, that's when the game's like, okay, now it feels like a game less than a cat roaming around and doing whatever he wants. So, but yeah, there's two cats that meow, great environments, but if the game starts to feel like a hollow experience and it feels limited and underwhelming, at least that's how I felt. I saw a lot of people are like, oh, you know, it was so short and it was immersive, and that wasn't what I felt like, unfortunately. But with all the criticism, this is still the best cat simulator overall, and the highs of the journey offset the lows. It's definitely a beautiful game. But the gameplay asks for, like, as I said, a lot of push A here, and takes away from the immersiveness of the story when the game expects you to solve puzzles and other things, which, you know, a cat wouldn't really necessarily care about that or be doing that. So I guess you have to give a bit of credit to the game. Like, it's still got to be a game, still got to have puzzles. But I'd say ultimately it's an 8 out of 10. It looks great. It brings you in at the beginning. I don't like the whole like fetch quest and, like, you know, real cats I feel like wouldn't want to do all these like jumping around. Like, they would jump around, but like they wouldn't be trying to grab items. You know, that's a human thing, and I think that's sort of being pushed on the game a bit. Yeah. And the lack of replayability. This is a shorter game for $40. It feels like at the end you should be able to roam anywhere in the game, like some sort of way to open world it. Just if you want to go back and experience parts of the game without starting from the beginning, I think that would have been great. I know it's an indie game, so it's probably would have been too much, asking too much to do that, but hopefully, you know, I just don't feel like the journey is memorable enough so far to warrant a second trip through. Perhaps like Stray 2 would be more on about cat living with other cats, you know, without getting lost, and then trying to deliver like the sci-fi story, which you can come up with your own conclusions why they did that. I feel like it's a little bit pricey for a short game at the $40. For a game that demands like a lot of fetching and less meowing. Like, you can meow whenever you want, but it's more of like a, you know, it's a gimmick rather than anything that you need to actually do most of the time. So anyways, hopefully we'll get a Stray 2. Hopefully we can get a more immersive experience rather than fetch quests. So keep on straying from the path, keep on gaming. See you later.